I'm Vivian, and I'm based in New York City.
I'm Griselle, and I'm here in Tennessee.
As part of the side dish talk, we're going to start off with what we're eating or what we have brought to the table. And for myself, I have a bowl of dates. And Griselle, what do you have there?
I have champorado.
What is
So
that?
champorado, I'm originally from the Philippines. So normally we use sweet rice and cocoa tablets, like just pure cocoa tablets on it, and then boil it and cook it. But this one is oatmeal.
What's the name of it again?
Champorado.
Champorado.
Yeah, it's just good for rainy and cold weather. Yeah.
Okay, your dish is a lot more exciting than mine. The truth is, I had a little bit of something that was substantial before, so this is more of a sweet treat. And I have a quick story about the dates, though, because it's funny how I'm at a point where I love dates and I can't get enough of it. But there was a time when I was in college where just the sight of it was repulsive because I didn't know what it was. And it had a very strong resemblance to a certain
insect
animal.
Yeah.
Cockroach. And I didn't want to go near it. I had no idea how one would eat it. I thought it was something super foreign. But now, once I was in this journey and I was finding different sources of natural sweeteners, dates are the perfect replacement for that.
So
now
you know
I
what?
can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I just knew about dates when I started plant-based eating. Yeah, I didn't know what dates were before. Yeah, so same for me. I knew about it once I started looking for like alternative sweeteners for my food. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about how we met, because you and I have
Yes, we did
a coming together story.
Yeah.
You want to tell?
So Vivian and I met at a PPOD conference, which is a plant-based prevention of disease conference in New Jersey last year, 2023, around the end of September. And Vivian, what were you doing at that conference?
So I was assigned to go to the conference by my work. I work for a nonprofit organization called Plant Powered Metro New York, and our whole mission is to educate people about this lifestyle. And so I was sent there. It was part of a professional development, and I think it was a 2 or 3 day conference, and I was
3
there
days.
for
It was 3 days. Yeah.
I was there the entire time.
Yeah. I was only there for 2 days though, but I was there it wasn't for work or anything. So I was at the PPOD conference to fulfill a requirement for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I was working on to be a certified lifestyle medicine professional or a diplomate for the ACLM. So that's why I was there. It was the very first ever conference I ever attended since I started to practice a plant-based lifestyle. And I met you, Vivian, in your booth. You were handing out flyers, I think.
We did have a table.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't part of that specific role. I was there to really sit in and watch the lectures. But I had coworkers and we have a volunteer network, and they were tabling, and I would just stop by to say hi and to help out a little bit.
Right.
Griselle, you have to tell people what you do, though.
Oh, yeah, sure. I am a physical therapist. I've been doing that for the past 10 years. I am, right now, of course, I've achieved the diplomate status in the American College of Lifestyle Medicine just last December of 2023. I am also a certified nutritional physical therapist, and I'm still working on other certifications just to get better at what I do at my job. At the time, I was working with the geriatric population. I was doing home health. Right now that I just moved here in Tennessee, I am more focused on occupational health. So I see people for like workers' compensation. They got injured at the job. And that's what I do now.
Speaking of geriatrics.
Yes.
Which is going to be a segue into who are we trying to reach? What's the purpose of the side dish? And in short, and I think I can speak for both of us, but of course I want you to add on. I feel really compelled to advance the information about whole food plant-based lifestyle and how it can be used as a tool to prevent, delay, even reverse some chronic diseases, but to reach a population where we fit in, and that's the millennials.
That's right. And they're the ones that listen
yeah,
podcasts and watch
yes,
YouTube. So or watch videos on Instagram or wherever.
exactly. We're huge consumers of information, social media. I mean, we can't avoid it. And I feel like this information is lost on a lot of people our age. And it doesn't hit people to change their ways until they get diagnosed with something.
Mhm.
And it's not something that is permanent. There are a lot of cases where you can treat it with food, but I feel that it shouldn't have to get to that place.
That's right. If I'm being honest, I approached you in that conference because it seems like everyone there, and this is not to be like offensive or anything, but everyone in that conference was like older than me.
That's right.
Yeah. I didn't meet another doctor. I think she was in residency. She's like in her 20s or something. But other than that, other than you and her, no, people there were like older than us. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? That is a very specific event. It's a conference where people are willingly attending this conference about plant-based nutrition, lifestyle medicine. So you can only imagine that outside of that bubble, it's really hard to come across people our age and to connect over this knowledge. It's something that I know people are very familiar, or they've at least heard of vegan and plant-based. There are similarities, but actually this brings us to the next section of what is whole food plant-based nutrition. And how would you describe that?
I would go by the definition from Forks Over Knives and the Centers for Nutrition Studies, which is spearheaded by Dr. T. Colin Campbell. These were two of the first resources I was looked for information about whole food plant-based. So whole food plant-based is mainly two main things, two principles. Whole foods, meaning whole or minimally processed foods, and plant-based comes from plants. That's it. I like the simplicity of that.
Simple.
Yeah.
Yes, simple. Easy to remember. And how did you find this lifestyle? How did you find whole food plant-based nutrition?
I found whole food plant-based nutrition when I got COVID in 2022 while visiting my family in the Philippines. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
you were outside the country.
I was outside the country. It was the only time I got COVID, though. I was very careful, but I don't know how that happened exactly. But it was like, I wouldn't say traumatic experience, but just a bad experience. Yeah, it was not that bad because I've been to like worse situations, but this was bad. So I was supposed to come back going back to Florida. That's where I was living at the time. Going back to Florida after my visit, and at the airport at the time in the Philippines, we were still like testing people, like, if you're COVID positive, you have to stay behind and quarantine at a hotel or something.
Yeah, that was a crazy period.
Yeah. So I had to me and my husband, we had to be quarantined in a hotel. Anyway, we tested negative and came back to the United States. But then my symptoms got, like, my husband recovered in a week and I didn't. For like 3 weeks, I had that coughing, and although the fever subsided, but I still got that cough, and I was worried. I was worried about it because I have a pre-existing condition. I have a cancer in my thyroid, and you can see the scar right here if you're watching this on video. And it spread to my lungs when I was 18. And so I thought, and we know that for those who get COVID, those that have like a pre-existing condition or a chronic illness, they are the ones that are very susceptible to like the worst symptoms, the severe symptoms of COVID. So I thought, I may be one of them. I'm sure I was one of them. And so what I usually do is I look for research studies, and that's how I've kind of navigated my way in my like medical condition when I was way younger. When I was 18, that was like how I could kind of find comfort. Because, when you don't know about a lot of stuff, that's how you get so fearful about things. So
That's true.
so I think that at the time it saved knowing about and learning about my disease kind of saved me from that anxiety or maybe even depression from my situation. I used the same tactic when the COVID happened. So which is trying to learn about my condition and looking for, just any academic resources online, research studies. I always try to avoid random blogs.
Well, I think you're in a unique position where you have medical training, and
That's
so
right.
you're looking for objectivity and what is actual evidence,
Yeah.
which, like you said, maybe some of us don't look or don't have access to those journals, to those academic resources. So we're looking to popular science.
Yes. And that's right, because in my grad school, we look at evidence-based resources like in like Google Scholar and PubMed. Those are like my go-to resources. Anyway, I found this 2 studies. The first one is called Diet Quality and Risk and Severity of COVID-19, a prospective cohort study. And then the other one is Plant-Based Diets, Pescatarian Diets, and COVID-19 Severity, a population-based control study in 6 countries. So those were the titles of the studies that I found on the internet. So just to share a little, like a summary, those who followed plant-based diets had 73% lower odds of moderate to severe COVID-19 severity and 59% lower odds for pescatarians compared to participants who do not follow these diets. And the second study used almost 600,000 participants, close to 4 million person-months of follow-up, more than 31,000 COVID-19 cases, and had a similar conclusion. A diet characterized by healthy plant-based foods was associated with lower risk of and severity of COVID-19 if you happen to be infected by it. So I thought, why not try it?
And we didn't get to cover, but for those who don't understand what plant-based diet is, and I think it's worth spelling it out.
Sure.
That includes fruits, vegetables, whole grains,
Yes,
nuts and seeds, legumes, and
spices.
I mentioned seeds already. And spices too.
Herbs and spices, yeah.
Herbs and spices, that's right.
Yes, that is a whole food plant-based diet. So anyway, I thought about digging into it more. And I was desperate at the time because I'm like, I've been taught all my life that fruits and vegetables are good for you, so why not just eat more of it? Anyway, you know what I mean? So, and I was like, I had my doctor's, like, I already called my doctor. I was ready to discuss it with her, but I wanted to have like to know enough, so we can have that conversation and I can ask the right questions. So for that like little window time window I have with my doctor. So that's what I did. And I got a go signal.
So did you actually bring those studies with you to show her, your physician?
No, she didn't ask for it. But I was lucky enough, having been a cancer patient since 18, having that experience of like seeing so many doctors, I've kind of become so like picky of who the doctors that I choose to work with. So this particular doctor, she listens to me. She values my goals. And it's not like she just like goes with whatever I say, no. But she wasn't plant-based, no. But yeah, she was good. Like, okay, if that, it was like, okay, if that's what you choose to do, then all right, we'll check your protein, we'll check your B12, we'll check all of these and blah, blah, blah. And then I'll see you again in like 3 months, 6 months. But yeah, she's a great doctor.
And when you went back to see her in your follow-up visits, did she also feel encouraged or somewhat did her perception change a little bit after seeing how you improved?
Oh, yeah. That's an interesting question. She was skeptic in the beginning. I think she tried not to show that to me, but I could tell.
She's keeping a poker face.
Right. And I could tell. But when I came back 6 months after, I mean, I got better after, my COVID symptoms went away, but I got better. I came back to see her like 6 months after. And then my cholesterol, by the way, my cholesterol at the time was like, my LDL specifically was in the red zone. Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
For a 30-year-old in 2022. That's not good, I know. But anyway, when I came back 6 months later for a follow-up, my cholesterol was in like optimal levels. And she was so impressed. Yeah.
And this was without medication?
No medication. I was just on my usual medication, like levothyroxine, because I don't have my thyroid anymore. But yeah, she was amazed. But we didn't really talk about the plant-based thing much because, they have just such a short time with their patients. That's how doctors are here. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure, with diet, it's so embedded in culture.
That's right.
It's part of our identity as well. And so maybe you planted a seed in that short window you had time with her.
Hopefully.
So, yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah. At least she knows now. It's because it seems like I may be the way that just seeing her reaction, I may be the first patient she's ever had that went plant-based, I guess. Because, I mean, if she have had another patient, she would have told me, like, I had this other patient that's, or, related a previous experience with another patient who went plant-based. But no, I think I'm the first one. I think.
First of many, hopefully.
Yeah. But speaking of culture in your family or heritage, what was your diet like before?
Good question. Yeah, before eating this way. So I grew up in a Korean household. My parents are Korean. And growing up, we had a balanced way of eating. It wasn't so meat-centric, and we had our side dishes and that were plant-based, spinach, a lot of pickled side dishes, kimchi, of course.
Yeah.
And rice. We had white rice and, the meat sources, I think they were primarily fish, grilled fish, and maybe some like beef, but it wasn't so heavy. And I did consume dairy products. And one of the things that affected me, which I attribute to that dairy consumption, is eczema. So I was still eating some cheeses, not so heavy, but definitely milks. I was having milk, yogurt, and eggs. And eczema was something that I just could not get rid of, despite knowing that it affects a lot of children, but then people grow out of it. But I had it up until college. And it wasn't until that my journey, I also was a vegetarian throughout my high school, college. And it wasn't a healthy vegetarian lifestyle. I was still consuming junk food and also restricting my calories. So it wasn't a really nourishing diet. But it wasn't until my mid-20s, out of desperation of wanting to lose weight, I'm speaking candidly here, I was carrying some extra weight. I wasn't really happy about my body image, and I was so desperate to find a quick fix solution. And lo and behold, one of the top searches in my Google search for quick weight loss tips was veganism. And that's how I found out about eliminating animal products altogether. And I just soaked up that information and I gave up dairy products, I think, pretty much the next day. And then since then, I've noticed that the symptoms of my eczema were diminishing until they were completely eliminated. And so now my arms just it affected my arms and my under my knees, and they're now completely smooth. And so since that one dietary change, I started to experience optimal results. And then from there on, I was still eating, well, I had started eating vegan,
Mm.
but again, it was still processed. So it's not whole food, plant-based. I was still eating processed vegan stuff.
This was when you were
Um,
in college, right?
so I had graduated from
Ah,
college,
okay.
and I was actually in Korea. I was teaching English abroad.
Mm.
And when I got towards the tail end of my stay in Korea, that's when I found about veganism or vegan diet. When I came back home, there were some slip ups, and I had come back to my family to stay with them, and it was very different. They didn't understand why I was eating this way,
Mm.
and some of the dishes I was pushing away. I was like, I'm not going to eat that. They didn't really understand that.
Was it easier to be vegan in Korea compared to in the US or New York?
You know
Were you in
what?
New York at the time? Your
No.
family?
So my family lives in
Oh,
Connecticut,
okay.
but when I was living in Korea, even being a vegetarian was
Mm.
just something unheard of. And so when we would eat out, I would say, I would like this dish, but can you take out the egg or can you take out the meat?
Yeah.
But now I went back last year after not having visited over 10 years, and there's been an explosion. There's like a huge vegan scene there where there are a lot more restaurants. There's a
Okay.
growing, expat community. And so I think because of that influence and the demand for vegan foods and dishes, it's become more accessible.
Mm. Okay.
But whole food plant-based nutrition specifically, I was introduced by my personal trainer because I was just about to hit 30. And as a way to celebrate this milestone, I wanted to do something big. And so I wanted to train and compete at a bodybuilding competition.
I did hear that story.
It-
Yeah, you told me about that story.
yeah, I mean, it was my way of dramatically entering my 30s. And so I trained for a year and I was working with a personal trainer, and he himself was vegetarian since birth. And he was now whole vegan, all natural. And, as part of my workout, also there was my diet plan.
Right.
And he gave me this list. It wasn't like you have to eat this and this and this during your meal times, but it was like a list of foods of different categories, like, what to eat for your greens or like what fruit options, what grain options. And so you can mix and match. And there, I had different macro goals. But anyway, I learned about this way of eating, and it was an easy transition for me,
Yeah.
but that meant that I was eating more whole foods. So I had lentils for the very first time. I didn't know what lentils were.
Ah.
Now I can't. They're the highest source of plant protein, I think, or one of the highest sources of plant protein. And it's so easy to hit, my protein needs from the lentils.
Yeah.
It's just so highly packed with protein.
Right. Yeah. Because the thing about vegan diet, the diet specifically, when people go into that without, say, adequate knowledge on the nutrition side, they would go for like the prepackaged, like the really processed vegan products. So examples like would be vegan sausages or plant-based meat.
Cheeses. There's plant-based cheeses. Yeah, mock meat.
Yeah.
But they're so laden with sodium and, some of the ingredients themselves aren't really minimally processed.
Yeah.
And there's oils too.
Right.
So
salt, lots of salt. Sodium, you said that. Yeah. So have you been whole food plant-based now?
So that was back in 2017. And so since then, I have been consuming primarily whole foods. When you're out on occasion, you might have something that's not exactly whole food,
Right.
plant-based.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of what I also want to emphasize, that eating this way doesn't mean that you're never going to have something that you're
You're perfect.
Miss out. Yeah, you're gonna be perfect. And there are a lot of instances and special occasions that you're gonna run into that may not accommodate your way of eating.
Yeah.
And the only place that you have full control is in your own kitchen.
Exactly. I fully
So,
agree. I've only been so you started in 2017. I started in 2022.
okay.
So I've only been whole food plant-based for 2 years and a month now. Yeah.
Oh
So
my goodness.
I'm still a newbie, I would say. Um, but for me, it was a drastic change because I never went through like vegetarian or vegan like you did. Like you went through like some stages
I did.
from high school. In my case, my diet back then was so much full of junk food,
Mm.
chips, French fries, fried chicken,
And this is
and
when you were growing up in the Philippines?
yeah, this was in the Philippines, and because my family could afford it, and we would have fish too. I mean, seafood because I mean we have so
Your
much seafood,
island.
and yeah, it's an archipelago
Right.
basically. So yeah, we do have a lot of seafood, which I think are better choices, better nutritionally. But I would choose what to eat. I would choose back then. I would choose like either chicken, beef, or pork, and then rice. And if there's like vegetables, I would like pick them out, out of the side of the
Really?
plate. Yep, yep. I would pick them
They
out.
were just not palatable to you? Like any side of green you would take out?
I guess so. Yeah. Although my parents tried. They tried. Like don't leave the table if you don't finish your
Mm.
broccoli. But like, nah, it just didn't stick with me. I did start to at least started to eat something green after I got my cancer. That because
Mm.
that made me like a little more health conscious, I guess, like more concerned, more proactive and conscious about my health at the time, but not fully. But that's when I started to eat at least the green beans or spinach or a little bit of broccoli, not a whole lot, but a little bit. I would.
What's your relationship with broccoli now?
Oh, I like it. I mean, I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would eat it like raw or steamed or in a.
Oh, I can't have it raw.
You
I gotta
can
have it steamed. No,
raw.
it's
I
just
mean
too
raw.
hard.
Well, raw is fine. I mean, as long as they're like really small chunks and with the dip.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah, the dip helps.
Yeah, yeah. But you talked about like how hard it was to be plant based with your family. It was the same for me too. So like when I
Mhm.
visited home, they were eating the same thing that I was eating before, and yeah, it was. So I was like I couldn't wait to like go back to my kitchen and cook my own food. And speaking of which, I told you I'm more like a little over 2 years whole food plant based, but I am not 100% plant based.
Mm.
So I'm not vegan. I am. I would classify myself as predominantly plant based. So I set a personal rule for myself to be at least 90% whole food plant based. Now, most of the time, most days, almost every day, I am 100% whole food plant based.
Mhm.
But like you said, when you go out, say family gatherings and whatever, there are times where you consume something that isn't plant based or even whole food. But at least for me, I have that like I allow myself to be like to forgive myself when that happens. So I don't put myself like in a at this point of
Pedestal.
my life. Yeah. It's still a journey. Yeah.
But I think I'm really glad that you brought that up because I hope that listeners and viewers understand or realize that this way of eating isn't something that is you're signing away your freedom to eat
Exactly. Yes.
only this way.
Mm.
Because I think realistically, a lot of people who are new to this lifestyle may not be eager to eat this way right off the bat. And there are going to be slip ups. And there may be certain foods where you feel a really, strong connection to, and it's hard for you to let go. I think there is room to explore because there's so many different flavors and textures that you can find in the plant kingdom. But I think what you're saying that I'm not 100%, let alone whole food plant-based vegan, but vegan, there are times where I am consuming animal products. I think that'll give some people the relief knowing that there's room for that. And as long as you're striving to eat more plants, that's what really benefits you and your health.
And besides in the research, it's not about like the individual foods that you eat. It's about the overall pattern. It's what you eat most of the time is what counts. Yeah. Not the occasional like ice cream once a year. I mean, like,
Exactly. Like when you're at birthday gatherings, you might be attending someone's birthday who's not a vegan. And I mean, you ultimately make the choice whether you want to consume that cake or not. But just saying that if you do, in order to keep up with the ambiance and the social, the festivities, that mood, I think it's fine. Because also as part of the lifestyle medicine, the pillars, I think one of them is, correct me if I'm wrong, social relationships.
Yes. Actually, I made a video on that on YouTube. Yes.
You'll have to drop that. But
sure.
That's just as important. That's just as important as what you eat, your overall lifestyle habits.
Yeah. Actually, in my first year of being plant-based, I made a little experiment. I counted how many times I was eating like either something animal-based or just highly processed, ultra-processed foods in my first year. I counted, I wish I could find, I think it's like 46 or 43 times in a year. So like say in a year, I eat like 3 times a day, which I do. So 40, how many, I'm bad at math, 365
There are 52 weeks
times?
I
was going to say like how many meals I eat in a year. It's 1,095, give or take, right? 1,095 meals in a year. And only 43 or 46 of those meals did I eat something with meat in it or dairy or junk food. And how much is that compared to like 1,095, right? It's
so 95% you were eating plant-based.
It was 96 at 96%.
That's so cool.
Turns
that
out
you have those statistics because you're a nerd like that, and we love it.
I am.
Love it.
I wanted to quantify. I want to see if I could do it. Like I said, it was an experiment. I wanted to see if I could actually do it. Yeah, and I said like 90%, right? Minimum. And I did 96 for that year.
Maybe in a future, or you can pull up that infographic because I'd be really interested to see that.
It was in one of my videos, if I could find it.
Okay.
One of my YouTube videos. It's there. Yeah, I showed like the note. It was actually handwritten on my iPad. So it was there. It was just a tally, like I ate chicken.
That too. So it's almost like how many meals that are plant-based can I eat? Which can also be motivating too.
Yeah. And the thing is, when I did eat, like, say, chicken at the time when I counted, it was not like just chicken. I mean, it was chicken maybe with broccoli or beans and rice, of course. Rice.
Yeah.
Rice every day. Rice. It's not a meal without rice. Yeah. So
no.
So it wasn't just the chicken. If I did eat chicken, but yeah, because I think in my 2 years of being whole food plant-based, predominantly whole food plant-based, I think I ate chicken like twice. Yeah, just twice.
Yeah,
beef
for me
once.
Personally cannot imagine eating. It's been so long. Like I was a vegetarian since high school, so I had not had meat. Like as a vegetarian, you have dairy products, and I had ice cream. But like actual animal flesh, I have not had. So, for me, being 100%, there may be occasions where I'm eating something that's a little bit more processed. And if there is a meat dish involved, I myself won't eat it, but I might bulk up with something else that's there. But it's just a very foreign flavor and taste to me at this point. So,
I would say, yeah.
yeah.
I made a video about I ate meat after 6 months of being whole food plant-based on a Christmas party at work. And I was eating like healthily for all of this time, all these months, and I deserved this. I deserved this little cut of prime rib, you know. So I did. And I think like just one or two bites and I'm like, it didn't taste the way that it tasted before. You know what I mean? Like, so it's maybe for sure my taste buds have adapted to eating more plants. So yeah, that was my change. When I did that experiment,
Yeah.
yeah, I found out like, yeah, it does change your palate.
So, shall we wrap up?
Sure.
So, the intention of this is to come together and have a talk about this lifestyle on a monthly basis and to keep it short and digestible and
Yes.
hoping to inspire people to eat more plants.
Right. So where else can they find us?
Well, my personal IG is at Viva Young Health, and I try to post a lot of photos of dishes I make. I'm sort of not a food snob, but I love taking photos of things that I make.
You do take really good photos. Yeah.
It's a camera and natural light. And how about you, Griselle? I know you have a YouTube channel that you mentioned.
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel. It's Dr. space Griselle, Grazelle. And I'm also on IG. I used to be very active on IG. I used to post a lot of reels, but I've switched to long form, which is now YouTube. But if you want to hit me up on IG, DM me. I still go there like once in a while at DrGrazelle. Forgot to
Awesome.
spell my
It's
name.
been so long.
Anyway,
All
Dr.
right.
Griselle. There you go.
We hope to see you in the next The Side Dish episode. Bye.